Hello everyone, Mark Sajan here again, and thanks for joining. This tutorial is about creating a UVW texture map for this particular box. It is simple, but it will has its own challenges. Okay, now take a look. By default, every 3D object has some kind of a coordinate. It could be absolutely wrong or it could be messy, but there is some kind of coordinate. Our deal here is to flatten it out and make it readable, make it useful to actual in other softwares and during rendering. Before we are dealing so much with the UVs, it's the best choice if you just simply use a material and apply a texture that can give us some kind of an information about the actual situation. Usually, I do like to use a UVW checker tile search, and this gives us uh, a easy to read, square, colorful, and labeled kind of texture. And this can give good information about the size, the distortions, the proportions, and everything like that. So if you want to troubleshoot, you can find an easy way to identify what area has a problem because it has its own codes. Okay, now revert back to 3dsmax, and the material is already open. You know, material hotkey texture is there. It's a compact material editor. And in the diffuse slot, beside the color selector, we have the channel gate and opening up the bitmap, and that will be at desktop, UV, and UV checker. And now it's ready, it's just not visible. You have to click on a show shaded material in viewport, and voila, here we go. This is what we have. Now it is not bad. Alt W, I will maximize the viewport, and this is not bad at all. Our main issue is uh, everything is the same. So if you want to make a difference on, for example, you want to use a script on this side and you want to use a color on this one, it's not possible. Right now, every side is using the same texture. That's issue one. The second issue is distortion. As you see, the texture here is stretched out. Here it is much better, but the other part, the third problem will come in, that the size, the resolution of this texture, and the resolution of this texture are not matching, so it's not optimal. Now what? We need a modifier to handle that. Uh, if you don't have a box like this, just read, please, the sizes 10 centimeter by 5 centimeter and 3. The only thing you have to be careful is just, or I'm just asking, that make these values different because it's easier to recognize which face you are grabbing and which face you're working with. Okay, now on top of this, in the modifier panel, we are in the modifier list and calling an unwrap UVW. Okay, so unwrap UVW. And this starts by automatically creating a quick planar projection map. And that projection is indicating the direction of the projection is this one. So this is the surface normal that's standing on this projection plane. As normally, and with many modifiers and many editable objects, we have sub-objects here as well. So when you're clicking on the arrow triangle here, you can roll out, and now instantly you're ready to rock and select a face. Now, as you see, whenever you're selecting a face, this quick map gizmo will guess and try to help you with an orientation for a simple projection for that particular face. Now, if you have multiple faces, for example, I'm selecting this one, holding down control, selecting the other one, now we have an average. So the best, easiest texturing projection, if you have a single planar projection face, it will be somewhat like this one. Now, just to make our life easy, we will select each face and rearrange those faces. We want to create an easy to read layout, and we need to identify which face is which one in the UV editor. Now open up the UV editor. Here you will find on the right side there's a UV editor open button, and this is a huge help because there's an interactive connection between the two. So you can zoom in, use the pan by holding down the middle mouse button and scrolling. It's easy to use. There's nothing 3D rotation here. It's just a 2D kind of a table to work on. This is our work area, and by default, everything is placed within that work area. At the last, when we are finishing, everything will be placed here again. But right now, we want to move them away. Now, before we are moving them away, right now there is a distortion problem. As you see, we have a face like this, and here this face is like a simple kind of cubic shape. So it's not that distorted rectangle here. It's kind of a square. Now, the problem is you want to make it as close to this shape as possible quickly and easily. Because we have only a simple planar surface, it can be done with using the quick map. The quick map, the quick planar map is already um, offered here as a choice. So when you're just clicking on a quick planar map, it will instantly snap to the proportions of the face that you see here and updates uh, the UV editor. Now, because this one is already quite close to our final stuff, we don't want to mess around too much. We want to make sure that we will not ruin the surface. So for this reason, I will drag this and move it away. Just like, it's like a table, a big table. I'm just creating a simple arrange, just exploring the upcoming faces and items. Now to move on, this will be my next choice. So this face will be connected in the end. It will be connected with this one by using a welding method. So I will weld these two elements, but just in a slow pace. Okay, now the method is pretty much simple. I will use again the automatic quick planar map because it's a single simple map. Wow, cool. Now, grabbing, moving it away. Next part will be the bottom one. It is automatically flipped, so it's a good, easy way to recognize that this one is the bottom. And I'm pressing quick planar map, moving it away, move it closer to the top one. These will be welded together, and the last is this side here. Quick planar map, just arranging, moving it away. Super cool. Okay, now we have two maps left over, two UV sides. One side will be this one, and I will just, again, a quick planar map, move it away. Probably on this side, and select the other one. Oh, before I will do the selection, just let me show something. Can you see the difference? We have these huge tiles here, but this one is pretty small. So what to do? When you are in the UV window, you have the chance to move, rotate, and scale the item. The easiest way to do this kind of a movement and rotation is with the default tool. This default tool is the freeform mode default tool. Now, when you are selecting a corner of this bounding box and holding down Control, it will enable you to uniformly scale the object. Okay, it's not perfect. I will make it a little bit smaller. And now, alright, this is quite close in size, somewhat like this. Okay, now it's fun. Uh, if you want to rotate, we don't need to rotate right now, but just let me show it. You have to go to a mid section point, and now you're able to rotate. I will undo this. I'm holding down Control, and when I'm holding down Control, now it's ready to rotate by 5-degree increments. increments. All right, now take a look at the other side. Select the face, go to the quick planar map. Now we have a quick planar map. It's super good. I will place it to the other side and use my control and corner drag to resize these face. Okay, now it's absolutely nice. Here we are. All faces are arranged. I have nothing here left. Easy to select. The faces now are easy to identify because there is some kind of a basic layout of the object of my item. Now start with the first and the top face. When you are selecting a face, something strange happens. If you haven't recognized yet, this is the time to understand that we have some kind of a color code here. The color code indicates by default every outer edge is green. Okay, and because we have full-sized polygons without any cross sections, without any segments inside these faces, it is entirely um, um, closed by these open edges. But the second thing that you can recognize here that there is some kind of a bluish edge. This blue edge tells us this polygon is connected with these blue edges. Because this polygon has four edges around, it could be up to four blue connecting corners, connecting points. But this is it's pretty hard to tell which one is the best because I want to connect this one to the side, the next one. So we will move up in the subobject levels from polygon subobject level to edge level and to narrow down our selections. Now I will directly click on this edge and it is highlighted in the viewport with this kind of a pink highlight, and now it will tell me that all right, I'm pretty close to my goal. Now I identified this edge, and this particular edge is indeed connected to the bottom one. So the range is absolutely fine. Now what's next? Before I will weld these together, I will switch back to polygon mode. I can do it here in editor. So I'm clicking on it, move it up um, slightly, pretty close. And now I will use the target weld function on vertex level. Okay, so I will level up vertex and now going up here, clicking on its vertex, and I don't know if it's visible, but I'm sure on your screen it will be visible. These dots are pretty much tiny, but the selected point, this one, is picking its pair. This pair is the blue one. Okay, so when I'm selecting this point, it recognizes that its closest connection is this blue point. So what we have to do is keeping the vertex mode on using the target weld. There's a hotkey for target weld just to make it a little bit easier. It's Control T. Now it's this target weld is initiated. So I will drag this, holding down the left mouse button. As you see, it's switching to welding mode. I like to move it away a bit just to recognize I don't have any overlaps and there are no other coordinates that's behind this one. And when you are hovering over the matching point and releasing the left mouse button, they will weld. Alright, now as you see, we have two faces now and one corner is welded. So this makes these two edges are still open edges. So this is the reason why you see these edges in this green state. But at the moment when you are welding the other part, the other corner, and releasing, this edge will turn into a white one. The white ones are uh, internal edges. So now you have one cluster. This is called a cluster. These are just simple polygons are acting like a cluster, but this is when actually a bunch of polygons are welded together. Now, when you have clusters and you want to move them away, here comes some kind of a tricky thing. When you're clicking on a polygon and just using the freeform mode and try to transfer it, it will act like gum rubber. So like chewing gum. When you're stepping on a chewing gum, it will drag away the faces. Now, if you don't want to mess with these, you have to select both in or as many polygons as you have and move them away as one unit. But if you have hundreds of clusters, for example, different parts, fingernails, teeth, and many, many, many things, you don't want to waste too much time on this. Now, here we have the element selection option. It is not a sub-object, okay? So it's not a sub-object. It is, as you see, we don't have vertex, edge, polygon, and element. This is just a selection method. So when you're clicking on it, the selection what you have will be it will remain. But at the time when you're clicking on one part, it will automatically select the neighboring faces. Okay, now I will turn this off because it's not in, we don't need it now. And want to follow this welding. So already have these two welded. The next will be this one, okay? And as you see, because these are welded, the textures are running, right? So here we have this nice running texture. Okay, again, to narrow down our selections and our chase for this blue connection indicator, I will switch to edge mode, select an edge, and voila, okay, that particular edge is absolutely 100% confirmed that it is joining to this polygon. Okay, switching to polygon mode. Okay, here I'm just giving a hint. If you don't like to click on here, this vertex, edge, polygon, or going up here, vertex, edge, polygon, you can use the hotkeys for this. Every subobject has the number one is vertex, two in this case it's edge, and three is polygon. Because we have only these three subobjects, the numeric key number one, two, and three will switch between these. So going up here, I'm pressing number one to switch to edges. I'm pressing Ctrl T to turn on target weld. Now we'll take a look. Here is our point, and I'm grabbing and releasing and moving to the other side and grabbing and releasing. Now, as you see, I'm quite tidy, but I could be way more tidier. Now, here is the issue. You have a couple points here, so these 4 points, and there are many transformation tools you can use. For example, if you want to make sure that everything is absolutely vertical and everything is super nice, you can use these guys here. So right now, if I'm pressing on it, now everything is snapping. Just quickly, I will transform this away just to demonstrate it, and it will create a quick center alignment. All right. I will just go back. So there's no problem. You can use these tools, but we will use another one, another specific tool, just to make it a little bit easier so you don't have to worry about this too much. All right, here comes the last part. The last part is this face, this bottom. So that's facing a little bit behind. Now here, there will be an issue, okay? There will be an issue, and this issue, if you take a look at the screen, it will help you a little bit to understand what the problem is. Now, the orientation of these letters and numbers is somewhat like this, but when you're turning it, the orientation of this surface and this is not matching. So this is the direction here, and the direction here is from top to bottom. And oh, it's weird because here we also have this situation. So this face is simply not matching at all. This is matching with the sides, but other than that, it's not matching with the top or the bottom. And we actually want to weld it to the bottom. So now what to do? Take a look at the edge method. Okay, so we are using the similar method that we are already used. And when I'm selecting this edge, here comes the weird thing that indicates we have to somewhat flip or rotate in this particular case. We need to rotate the face. Now, okay, just to going deeper into the problem, I'm selecting this point, and ideally, I want this point, this pair, to be highlighted, but the highlight is here on the bottom right corner. Now, what I have to do is to drag this point and move it to this area. Take a look. If I'm selecting the other side, it tells it's exactly the opposite on the bottom is the matching point. Now here we're going back to polygon mode, and if you are in freeform mode or in rotation mode, you can select right now in the middle, any kind of a middle counterpoint, holding down control to 5-degree incremental rotations, rotate this whole stuff and release and just move it closer. And now make a check. So if I'm selecting this vertex, now the pair is this one that's close. The other one, oh, it's 100%, super nice. Now go to the target weld, Control T, or click in this button, and now I will weld it directly to its matching point. And here we go. We have this nice cluster with all the inside edges, and now the texture is continuous. Okay, you can see the texture, how the texture is just simply going through in line. Everything is nice and super cool. So CD, CD, super. This one is actually divided. This is great. We have one opening edge here, and that is actually here, but the alignment is still there. Okay, um, let's handle the sides. So I have this one, and oh, what happened? This side is actually belonging to this one. Everything is highlighted here. Everything is blue because this little face is connected to every other side of our brick. So I will just drag this one, go to the freeform mode, move it to the other side, and I guess if I'm selecting this one, that needs to be moved to the opposite. Alright, I can handle that. Now, here is the face that we want to weld, and what connection we need. I want to weld, probably it's the best if I'm welding it to this horizontal opposite. So these are the two that I want to weld. Now going in, and the deal is to resize it to match, and I guess we can weld this edge here. Now take a look, select edge, is it's okay. This edge is not highlighting somewhat. I guess there's a bug here because I'm selecting the opposite when it's now it is highlighting in blue. I'm sorry for that, but this might happen. So I will switch to vertex mode, clicking on this particular vertex and check it. Now I have this blue. Okay, so I have this blue highlight. I know that this point could be and should be welded to this one. And take a look at the bottom one. Alright, now the bottom point is also suitable to be welded here. So Ctrl T as transform, that's not Photoshop. Okay, Ctrl T for target weld, and click and release. Now it is welded and the texture is already running here. Super nice. Opposite, go to polygon mode. So go to freeform. Now we're moving it away. This is what we have. Sizing, it might be a little bit smaller. Just quickly, directly, I'm going to the vertex, selecting this point. Okay, blue is highlighted. Cool, and that's highlighted as well. Now, what happens if you try to weld something that is not matching? Is it possible? Just quickly demonstrate this. So Ctrl T for the weld, and I'm selecting this one. It's obvious that the opposite pair of this one is this blue, but I try to go in here and try to weld it. Now what happens? I can place this point, but there's no weldment at all. Okay, there is no weldment, so there's no way you weld something that is not matching. All right, and if you are doing good and everything is welded, usually 90% in the situations you have this white edge. Okay, so now white edge, these are opened edges. These two are actually connecting, but this is the point. Actually, this point is belonging to this particular face. So if I move it away, just quickly, can you see what happens? This distorts. If you want to give a good better feedback, you can just open up the texture. So I'm using the UV checker large PNG and make it visible here. And now I can drag this whole system and move it and make it a little bit smaller. Move it here. And if I'm selecting this particular point, now you can read that's the D7. Now it's dividing the 7. So this is what happens. This particular point is actually matching with this one, and when I move it away, this is what happens. So the texture follows my changes in the UV. I will turn off the background, so the active map will be turned off. If you don't see your active map first, you have to go up here and select your own map, or this UV checker PNG, or this UV checker large PNG. It's actually quite same, but this one is a built-in, so you will find always that UV checker PNG in 3dsmax. All right, now I will make one more tiny adjustment. I was talking about this flattening and orientation and just cleaning up the transformation. There is a simple way to quickly relax these edges and find the most optimal position for them. And because this is an actually simple square object, it's not that difficult to say that when you are using the relaxation tool, it will be kind of if it will tend to create quite straight edges. Now, how to use it? I will select everything by using Ctrl A. So select all, and the tool is available from the tool. So you have this relax, or you can right click relax and click on the setting window. Now there are many options here, but the default one is absolutely fine for us right now. And this is a never ending process. So when you start the process, it will keep it refining and using the relax algorithm in the background. So when you are done, you actually stop relax. But because this model is so simple. There is not much information to relax, just straightening the edges. It will be happen just in a blink of an eye. So when you start relax, it will snap a bit, and when the snap is done, if you take a closer look, oh yeah, everything is super square, super nice, no distortions of the textures. It's absolutely coming. So now we have just closed this one. So relax tool is closed. And to make it fit, you want to use the scale and rescale your model to fulfill this work area. This is our actual final work range. So we want to use as much space as possible to spare some pixels. So if you're not scanning it up, you're losing all the pixels around. Okay, it's not an ideal layout, but it is some kind of quick and easy to follow layout. Now here we go. We have this very basic UV, and the next part will be about how to use it and how to deal with this inside Photoshop. Okay, so please follow. Thank you.